Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia Omogbe.
It's good to have you join us tonight in London. I'm Austin Okunakpan. Cecilia, so much going on in our action-packed world of sports. Right here in England, we're following the semi-final first leg in the AFL Cup, and I'm sure you know we might just be getting some surprises in that one.
We can wait for that. Also on the program, of course, we'll be talking about women's football development on this show today because the FIFA match ball for the Women's World Cup, the 9th edition, has been launched. It was launched in Sydney earlier today. Also, we'll touch down on Nigeria Professional Football League Match Day 3. We get our attention. And weightlifting. Austin, you were in Birmingham last year, where we have Nigeria winning 12 gold medals, the best team from Africa in Birmingham. And of course, we'll be having the president of that federation right here in the studio. So we'll be talking about weightlifting and their plans for the year. We know we have so many qualifiers as they're preparing for the Olympics, which is, of course, Paris 2024. And also, we'll talk about some managers that have been fired and, of course, the ones that have been hired. And Marcelo Bielsa will get our attention because stories from London is the fact, stories from England is the fact that he may just be the next manager that will be coaching Everton. I mean, that club is kind of a hot spot right now. Who wants to touch that club because of their performance this season? There's so much to talk about on the show today, Austin.
So much to talk about. The English Premier League will definitely get our sports fans talking because it's looking like Arsenal, they're not looking back, particularly what we saw them, do on Super Sunday against Manchester United. The Gunners fought till the end. For Lampard and Everton, it saw the writing on the wall. In fact, they gave him an ultimatum. Cecilia, it's only in the MPFL that we get to hear about these ultimatums. But here in England, they told him, if you don't win your next game, you're out, and he saw it coming. They barely survived relegation last season, and Everton, already going through that same route. So the management just said, look, you got to leave. Marcelo Bielsa, I think, very decent coach. Did a lot of good things with Leeds. And if you put Leeds and Everton in a picture, almost, almost the same, kind of philosophy as clubs. So maybe Marcelo Bielsa might just, fit in easily. But wait to see. I like the conversation about weightlifting. So when the president is ready, we'll get into that conversation. Weightlifting gave Nigeria six medals at the Commonwealth Games: 2 gold, 1 silver, and 3 bronze medals. And I told the president when I spoke with him in Birmingham that they need to consolidate this year, go to international competitions and prepare for the Commonwealth Games. I spoke to Islamiyat Yusuf. Remember her, Cecilia? She won a medal in Birmingham. She said she wants to be on the podium in Paris. I spoke to Adijat. She said the same thing. So the weightlifters are beaming with confidence again. I remember just before the Commonwealth Games, I said we used to do so well with weightlifting, and that weightlifting should start getting us talking. And indeed it did. So when the president comes on the show, we'll talk about the development of weightlifting in Nigeria. What are some of the things we did in 2022 that we can consolidate upon this year? Cecilia, that will be the conversation.
That will definitely be the conversation tonight. Of course, Abdullahi Ibrahim is ready to join us now live from our Abuja studio to talk about their plans for this year. And of course, as Austin mentioned, consolidating on what happened in 2022, what they can build on that. Good evening, President. It's good to have you join us.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get straight into it. Last year, 2022, was a good year for Nigeria because of their performance at the Commonwealth Games. And of course, everyone expects that with what has happened at the Commonwealth Games, preparations for the Olympics should start in earnest. And not just that, Nigeria should be able to attend most of the qualifiers this year to have more athletes representing the country at the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
Okay, I think we're having some problems with feedback. The president of the Nigeria Weightlifting Federation, Ibrahim Abdullahi, is at our studios in Abuja. When we fix that issue, get into the conversation. Cecilia, You just reminded the president that it was a good year. I was going to ask him, was it really a good year? You know, yes,
You,
6
you know,
gold medals.
when you win medals at international events, no matter what may have happened on the home scene, I mean, we try to gloss over it and of course focus on that success that was recorded. So when you start from that success, obviously you know that you have something, a kind of beacon of light that you can look at and say, okay, if I could achieve this, then I can actually, just whatever failure I may have achieved before, I may have recorded before. This obviously is a light, a shining light in order.
I get what you're trying to say. We won medals at the Commonwealth Games that we've not been winning before with weightlifting, so that's a good thing. But I'm concerned about the structures. Cecilia, we used to be so dominant with weightlifting.
Okay.
So what happened?
I think Abdullah is ready now, Austin. Maybe we can go straight to him. Yeah. Okay. I think he's ready again to join us, and I hope we can hear him right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Thank you very much
for to discuss
for joining us.
Weightlifting very proudly.
Yeah. All right, let's get straight to the point. Last year, 2022, was, I would say it's a good year, but Austin didn't agree with me, but it was a good year for weightlifting because of the medals that were won at the Birmingham Games, talking about the Commonwealth Games. How do you intend to consolidate on that in 2023?
Yeah, we started already in preparations for the 2024 Paris Olympics, and we'll be going to camp sometimes in February in preparation for our first outing in Tunisia, sometimes on the 12th to 28th of May, where we'll be going for our first qualifiers for the Olympics. And then after that, we'll go to we'll go to Havana, Cuba for the next one, and then Saudi Arabia, and then finally we'll go to Qatar for the year. And the journey begins again in 2024. 2024, we'll go to Egypt as well as Thailand for the qualifiers.
Okay, interestingly, that's a whole full calendar for you for preparations for the Olympics. Is that the only thing that weightlifting will be doing this year? Because from the local scene, obviously, you really want to, groom more athletes for the country, not just focusing on the elite athlete. Because what you've talked to us about now is about the elite athletes and preparations to qualify for the Olympics. Are we going to be having national trials, for instance? And how will these athletes be selected, before they go for these different qualifiers that you just talked about?
Yeah, you may recall that in December we had a National Sports Festival that serves as our qualifiers for our first outing. So we picked some of the best athletes from there. We looked at it vis-a-vis what their counterparts in the world are doing. You may also, in December last year, we had the World Championship. Even though we did not attend because Nigeria, we were having our National Sport Festival, which is our own Olympics, and most of the athletes are elite athletes. And so if we take them for the World Championship, it will not add glamour to the National Sport Festival. And so we'll be having series of competition. We'll be having a national championship here in Nigeria, sometimes in April, but we are looking at postponing it to September, where we'll have Champions of Champions championship in Akwa Ibom, the second series. We have IGP games coming up. We also have our own games coming up, and so these are all efforts we are making to develop our athletes from the base. We want to produce more athletes. From the National Sport Festival that took place, we were able to discover more athletes. We are adding them to our database, and from there, the coaches are going to the technical committee. Will look at them, and then we begin to develop them and expose them. There's also African Championship that will be coming up in Ghana, so it will also prepare us for the 2024 championship, Olympic Championship coming up.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. That's a whole, more like a loaded package for you this year. Outside this that you just talked about, sometimes these events, yes, are laudable. Sometimes, usually, to get funds to actually attend, is always a problem. How do you intend to source for funds to ensure that you have more athletes competing in these qualifiers you mentioned?
Yeah, already our pathway had been approved by the Ministry of Youth and Sport. We are also getting a couple of sponsors and also from companies from private sectors, and we will, by a special grace of God, we will go for all these qualifiers because that's the only way to qualify for the Olympics. This is a very unique one. For the first time, you must go for a minimum of 5 championships to qualify you for the Olympics, and we want to go for the Olympics. We know for us in weightlifting, we want to make the country proud, and so we would put everything that we have to make sure we're there for the Olympics.
Awesome, that sounds good, President. Let's project into the future now. We're getting ready for the big one, the Olympics in 2024, when Adijat Olarinoye won Nigeria's first gold medal at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. I spoke to her and she said she would like to be on the podium at the Olympics. Same thing Islamiyat Yusuf said. What is the federation doing to ensure that those dreams can come true?
You know, for every athlete wish to be at the Olympics, that's the apex for every athlete. But you see, everybody will not be there. We want to make sure we take the best. It's not going to be jamboree. Let me also tell you, for the first time, no country will produce more than 3 female and 3 male athletes. Every country will only produce 6 athletes. And so, because we have 6 slots, 3 male, 3 female, we will make sure we go with the best. We'll look at it with what the records are, the world records are, and then what we are doing now. And because it's a 1-year program, our projection, like I told you, sometimes in February we'll be in camp. We'll be at Asaba, where we'll be camping for the next 3 months before we go for the Tunisia Championship. And from the Tunisia Championship, we'll come back to camp and prepare straight to go for the championship at Havana, Cuba. So you see, that's what we want to do. But for the athletes, we will give the best athletes the opportunity to showcase what they can do. And like I said, like the decision of the board is that we will not take any athletes that cannot compete at the top level out there. So we will do our analysis, make sure we get the best athletes from all the categories. We have about 10 categories for the Olympics, and only 6 categories will only be able to feature in 6 categories. And so those 6 categories must be the best of the best that we can produce.
Sounds good. Sounds good, and good to know that you're also getting ready. If you tell any federation in Nigeria to produce a song, funding and infrastructure will be part of the lyrics. Now, we've talked about our weightlifters making it to the Olympics. Do we have the infrastructure that meets international standards to get these weightlifters ready to compete at the highest stage, such as the Olympics?
Yes, we do have the infrastructure. We have series of gyms we collaborate with. We have our gym also at the national stadium. Also, there's also a gym in Lagos. But you can see most of our athletes are not based in Abuja. They are based in various states in the country, and so we correspond with their coaches on a daily basis or on a weekly basis to know what they are doing, to make sure they are fit and ready to come to the camp. They'll be coming to the camp in February, and when they come to the camp, we'll assess them. We'll see what we can do. The infrastructure is there. The Ministry of Youth and Sport has provided us with the necessary infrastructure equipment that we require. Our gym is state of the art. Our athletes are very happy. We have a very good synergy. They trust us, and they trust us because when we tell them we are going to do this, they know we are going to do that. And also for us on our own part, we do our own side of the bargain. We give them all the necessary support that they require, and in return they give us the medal.
Now that you've talked about support, because this infrastructure thing is a serious, problem. For instance, you have a weightlifter in Cross River or Kwara and doesn't have good gym or infrastructure to prepare. How does the federation handle that?
Yeah, this year we will be getting equipment from the African Weightlifting Federation, and as usual, we distribute them to states across the country. Like I can say with certainty that 2 years ago, we were able to give more than 15 states some equipment. We have some equipment. When we went to camping in Lokoja, we took some equipment from here, and the Ministry of Youth and Sport also supported us with some equipment which we are currently using, and some of those because we have surplus of those equipments coming in from the our African body. We will sit down, do our analysis, and see the states that we hadn't given, and most of these states have a deficit. Like Nasarawa, I know they have deficit of equipment, and a couple of states from Oshun, most states in the north don't have a lot of equipment. And no. So when we sit down as a board, we take a decision, and then we distribute these equipments to them. When we keep these equipments in our gym, it's not going to be helpful to us, because we only come to the camp, and it's only when they're in the camp they use these equipment. But when we distribute these equipments to states, that's where that's where it's going to be useful. And when we give these states equipment, we give them the necessary we give them some targets of what we require from them, and those targets is what we use to measure the performance of our athletes, and also to see to which of the states we will also be giving equipment to. Delta, for example, have a lot of equipment. Lagos, they have a lot of equipment. So if we give them now, it will be pouring water in the river, and so mostly we will have to give to the states that don't have. We have a technical committee that is made up of very qualified people. The board will sit down and take these decisions, and we'll just implement and execute the decisions.
Yeah, interesting. Before we let you go, let's just ask, what are your plans for the grassroots project? You've mentioned what you've talked about, basically a National Sport Festival, because you also mentioned what the elite athletes will be doing, the championships you've mentioned. But the grassroots level, just taking the sports to the grassroots level, what are the plans for this year?
Okay, we will be having a seminar on doping sometimes in April. And apart from that, we will also have a national championship. It's stated for April, but we might shift it to maybe June, July, depending on the decision of the board, so that some of these elite athletes can also participate. It's a national championship where everybody that is a lifter in Nigeria will come and showcase, irrespective of the states, irrespective of the club they come from. It's a championship that we want to use to build, to assess the athletes, and also we also want to have a youth championship. I think sometimes in 2020 when we had this youth championship at Ilori, Kwara State, we were able to discover some young athletes, and you can see some of them participated at the National Sport Festival. And they are coming up. We are watching them. The coaches are talking to them, and we will continue to monitor their progress. So we'll have also the champions of championship in Akwa Ibom is the second edition. The IGP police game, which is also the second or third edition, will be taking place this year. And so all those competitions are what we want to use to develop our grassroots, our athletes, local athletes, and then monitor them and continue to support them in terms of training, seminars, and also anti-doping seminars. Doping is a very big case in weightlifting. There's no room for it these days. In fact, there's zero tolerance for doping. So the athletes needs to know that there's no that the kind of drugs that they should take when they are ill, they have to go see a doctor. And so these are some of the things we intend to do this year. Grassroots sport is the key. You can't develop these elite athletes. If you give them some few 3, 4, 5 years, they will be aging out. So we need to also build the next champions. We need to build the next Hadijat. We need to build the next Oshoma. We need to build the next Edidium. And all. So those are the things that we have to line up for 2023, building up to the Olympics in 2024.
All right, Ibrahim Abdullahi, President, Nigeria Weightlifting Federation, thank you so much for taking our time to join us on the program today.
Thank you very much.
Kende Idris is right here in the studio. Kende, good evening.
Good evening, Sisi, and good evening to Austin. A quite deep discourse with the weightlifting. They've been giving us joy, just like para, athletes. And I quite like the angles. It was well stretched. I'm sure, President loved the fact that it was made to talk. It was made to come out, from whatever, shells they've kept themselves. Because the weightlifters find a way to keep themselves there, but we see the result. Now you made them to talk, and I love this. So many angles. I was jotting while he was talking, and I love the angle, especially for the grassroots. We're monitoring, please. We hear monitoring always, but I think for weightlifters, the monitoring, they also take it to the next level that made them, be conquerors, because most of them are from home.
Yeah, obviously from home. I mean, Austin was going to chip in something, especially when he talked about doping. We know that, yes, some of these athletes at that age, they don't even understand what it is. And we find a situation whereby you have a 16-year-old, at the Olympics, you're doping, and you'll be like, how did this happen? But I love when he said they want to have seminar to ensure that, yes, these athletes are well educated to understand and know what gets into their mouth. And also, okay.
I wanted to, but I saw that we needed to let him go because when we talk about this doping thing, we put attention on the athletes. No, I've been doing a lot of investigation, put attention on the coaches. They are the ones that are desperate. That's why I wanted to talk about how enlightened our coaches. Sometimes these coaches, the only way they want to keep their job is when they win. An athlete might fail, but gain experience to get better. But a coach just wants to win to keep relevance. So that's why we must keep holding coaches accountable. They need to be responsible. They need to play that father figure. They need to be role models. And I'm sure the president of the Weightlifting Federation is still listening to us. Is very, very important for us to keep pushing that education towards the coaches, because I speak to some coaches. Some things happened at the Commonwealth Games, and when you dig, you find out that coaching was involved. For instance, someone cannot tell me that Nigeria had a chance to win a medal in powerlifting, and they said the athlete showed up late. Meanwhile, where was the coach? If the coach is where they are going to compete, where is your athlete? All of those things, those are the little details we should start giving, for the development of weightlifting in the country. And Kende, I want to talk about this. What you saw at the Commonwealth Games, he just mentioned now that you cannot get more than 6 weightlifters in different categories. Does weightlifting in Nigeria have what it takes to be on the podium in Paris?
I think they do. Like we've seen, yes, probably we've seen para athletes win more, but we're talking, proper weightlifters and all. I think you can. If you've gotten to this level of achievement, and all of these programs weren't broken down. See, sometimes even those who win gold tomorrow, they do not know it, but they know something, that they've been building towards something special. If all of these programs go on, you're going from one championship to the other. I can remember the words of a table tennis player, is it Bosse or Jomu? She said, our first international competition, in the very first 2 games, that she understood people from different zones of the world have different service. That is, you're now exposed to knowing, the Asians, this is how they attend or approach games. For the Americans, this is how. So you get into championship, it starts from home. You're going to different states, compete among each other. You conquer that. You go to Africa, you understand that, and then to the world. And if you go on like that, 10, 11, 12 championships before this top level, like the Olympics, I think you're already feeling like, okay, I've gathered enough. Now it's left to, the belief. in there. So I think I have that belief with what they've been doing in recent time, just put in a little more. And like we say, education is never enough.
Of course.
Not, weightlifting always, but the education, the seminars, how they are being spoken to, how you do this, you do that. Late coming, and you see these little things, they come together to make a whole. So if you put in this, I think Kehinde Idris have got enough belief in these weightlifters.
All right, let's leave weightlifting because we can spend the whole show talking about weightlifting in Nigeria. Let's switch over to women's football. Yes, I mean, FIFA has been doing a whole lot to ensure that the game is growing across the continent. But one question you need to ask, how can Nigeria really leverage on this? The FIFA strategy program is out there. CAF already started their own. And of course, you have NFF trying to buy into it. But then you have other countries, South Africa, Morocco, Kenya, Tanzania, Zimbabwe. These countries are buying into this FIFA strategy project, the program that they've actually put in place. Well, how can we really harness this particular strategy and develop the game? This report takes a look at developing the women's game in Nigeria, and also maybe how we can have the right administrators to ensure that, yes, we can leverage on this and build our women's football.
With the launch of the FIFA Women's Football Strategy to help stakeholders take adequate steps in empowering women and girls through sports by having 60 million players by 2026, women's football is growing exponentially across the globe. Countries like Morocco and South Africa are using this strategy to build women's football structure to rule the game on the continent. In Nigeria, former players are now using their projects to educate girls on leveraging on their untapped potentials and be at par with their counterparts around the world.
If you read ahead, you're going to be ahead of the game. And then when someone tells you something that's not correct, you can challenge it. Okay, so the first thing I want you to take away is try and go and find a strategy or a policy by one of the governing bodies online and try and read it. So if we're complaining there's no pictures, there's no this, there's no that, but we're doing the right thing, we now have a mouth to challenge and say, we've done this, why are we not seeing the benefits in our local state or our country?
I learned about leadership, education, and more so I learned to be outspoken. Education too goes a long way.
They've made mention of how sports can help us be a good leader in the future, like sportsmanship, discipline, respect, some other qualities of a good leader.
With the talents that abound in the country, how can Nigeria grow the game exponentially and surpass its previous achievements?
There's a money for every country by FIFA that is given to all FAs. So they should be asked, where is this money going to? And what are the accountability of how this money is being spent? Mind you, any player that qualifies for a World Cup, you have what they call allowance from FIFA. And also the grants for FAs. And also most of the traveling, FIFA pay for half of it at least.
With the number of female clubs we have now on the increase, I'm sure that the female league will become much more attractive. In fact, it can be much more attractive than the male league, by organization, sponsorship, partnership. This drive to bring about equity, create a good world, even for the female footballers, I'm sure that can be a selling point for any sponsor to want to be part of that league.
While having more clubs means more opportunity for players to play the game, commercial value and shaping revenue streams for the Nigeria Women's League are not comparable to the growth of leagues in countries like England and Spain.
I remember some players when I was at Tottenham Hotspurs, they came from Nigeria and they were telling me about the Pepsi Academy, amalgamation, they get paid, this, that and that. And when they first came and they heard that they had to pay subs to pay, they had to pay to play. They were like, eh? I was like, oh, you think we were living life? You don't know. So governance is key. In any business infrastructure, governance is absolutely key. And if your governance is not set, it leaves loopholes for corruption. It leaves loopholes for, individuals not being able to reach their potentials.
Issues of leadership and management in the women's game is being questioned once again. And transparency and accountability may just be the catalyst needed to build the right foundation and create a women's football that will be the envy of all.
All right, Kende Idris, you listen to the reports. Of course, 60 million new players. That's what FIFA is targeting. I mean, Nigeria, 200 million people, right? Okay, you can actually get all of them in Nigeria. I'm just joking. But then,
yeah, developing the game.
Yeah.
The game is getting more attention. FIFA, I think probably Spain will be, so happy at this kind of initiative. When Spain wanted to develop, viewership, followership for women's football, one of the things they did at the start to rise the Feminine League is for every time you come see a game, there is a jersey souvenir under your chair. So you are turned up to come to the stadium to watch. After a while, it stopped because now you already understand what you're to get from these footballers. And it goes on like that. And for Gianni Infantino, both male and female, but these days we're talking female, he's been hitting it hard on, keep exposing, young players to, football. They love it. They will get attention and we'll get more players because we need them. And, especially discovering them in those nooks and crannies. And for these young ladies who spoke, I mean the players, look at how eloquent, look at how beautiful they are. And they are ready to take stadium by, the scruff of the neck. And that is what we're saying. You get them to these programs and they will aspire to want to do more. But there was something that Oshodi said in everything, that was said. Aromire also touched on that, but Oshodi hit it right. In every development, especially sport, I only do sport reporting, so I can say that for a fact. Governance is very key. How is your structure? It will go a long way. When we're talking this whole Morocco development, English development, government knows what to do. They are like the coordinating father. And then you bring your programs, your idea. They help you in guiding all of that in line with the rules of the nation. And that is what we're saying. Let us, help with governance in this country to help those who's got ideas. This seminar is someone or some people's idea. They are trying to develop some of these players, but when they represent, they will never represent the name of these people. They will represent Nigeria. And that is why in my country, governance is very key, and we need to really step it up.
Talking about stepping it up, I mean, Austin is championing on the beat. Austin?
I'm for women's football development, and ISAT, passed an important question to everyone involved with the administration of football in Nigeria. We've said it over and over again. When FIFA gives grants and they say this percentage is for women's football, men, please back off. Nobody should touch that money. Let it be for women's football. The Nigeria Football Federation must be accountable. If it's 30%, if it's 40%, and FIFA has said this grant is to develop women's football, just put it into women's football. And Aisat said it clearly that that is part of the problem why women's football is not developing. So this is a charge to the new executives of the Nigeria Football Federation led by Brian. So whenever FIFA grants comes, particularly now that we're going to the World Cup, FIFA will give money to Nigeria for participating at the World Cup. Yes. It is the women that are going to the World Cup. Don't use their money to fund men's projects. You see, that's part of the problem. Also, let's do more in educating the girl child outside just playing football. Did you listen to those girls? She said she has learned good, valuable life skills. They taught her how to be outspoken. They told her to be confident. Those are some of the values embedded in sports that even when you don't play sport, you take those qualities with you wherever you go. So more of these sort of programs should be done for young girls, for ladies. You don't necessarily need to play the game professionally, but just learn some of the gains and values that we have in our beautiful world of sports.
Yeah, and of course, if we can do that, obviously we'll have a better women's league, a national team, and also better leaders in the future, because leadership is also key in developing the game. So we leave that and quickly touch down on NPFL. No, before we go to NPFL, of course, the Adidas ball has been launched, talking about the official ball of the FIFA Women's World Cup that is taking place in New Zealand and Australia later this year. It was launched in a spectacular fashion in Sydney, traveling over an iconic Sydney skyline by helicopter, before it arrived at the Max Park overlooking Bondi Beach. This is really spectacular. That's how the match ball arrived for the ninth edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. Of course, Adidas is also doing this for the ninth consecutive time. Yeah. Oceans, that's what it is called. So it's designed and inspired by the unique natural landscapes of the two host countries, with New Zealand and, of course, Australia, in connection with the Indian Ocean. That's how they came up with the design. And, of course, the ball is also a celebration of the culture of both countries, featuring, different culture reflected by the host nation. And one thing about this match ball is the fact that the innovative technology contributes to the semi-automated offside technology that FIFA actually offered at the Men's World Cup. Qatar. So this will also in Qatar. This will also help the video assistant referees, that's the VAR information, to help optimize that decision making when it comes to the offside. So what FIFA has done, I mean, he's not taking anything away from women's football, and the same thing he's done with the men's football. That's what they're also doing for the women's football. 32 teams, yes.
There's even more.
There's even more.
The male football did not travel this way.
It wasn't, the match ball wasn't launched like this. Often, I mean.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
I think
the men's ball wasn't launched this way, Cecilia.
Yes, now.
You need to add something beautiful. I think the organizers decided to do this. This is what they wanted to do. They want everybody to actually see this,
awareness,
to reflect the culture. Yes, create the awareness to know that, yes, this is coming to our countries. And, of course, this is coming to our country, both countries, of course. And everyone, they have seen this, will know that, yes, they're going to have something unique. I mean, just look at the display from the New Zealanders and, their culture. You just will see something beautiful, yes.
Very beautiful. And like I always say, which makes some of my colleagues say, I think you like women's sport, more than male. There is a way women always bring this charade, this paparazzi to everything they want to do. As much as there is competitiveness, you also see top-notch beauty in all of it. And that is why, look at this. I think this will linger up until the World Cup. If I don't hear of anything about Australia and New Zealand, this ball flowing, through the oceans and all will linger till then.
Yeah, Austin, you're kind of jealous that the men's wasn't really like this. But, we need to add beauty.
Yeah, I do love it. It's now 177 days to the kickoff of the Women's World Cup. I love that we're giving it the same attention. Let's try and do the same thing back home, and that's what we just talked about. What you do for the men, do for the women, and you see FIFA is trying so hard to ensure that we get that same thing. And women's football is growing. Shout out to Spain, the United States, and some other countries in Europe. We can now see stadiums being filled up for women's football club games. So at that World Cup level, FIFA must ensure that, they meet that standard. So if everyone is talking about the ball from the World Cup in Qatar, we should be able to talk about the ball that will be produced in New Zealand. And that's what FIFA is doing. And they are launching the ball at a very good time. Now it's going to be in stores. People will buy it. It has a very unique name, Oceans. It has the same connected ball technology that we saw in Qatar. So we're ready, and I love it, And, women are beautiful creatures. So whatever we do that is for women should come out, so beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, we'll talk about the beautiful game and continue talking about it. Yes, we'll go to the Nigeria Professional Football League Match Day 3 results and also fixtures for tomorrow. Now, let's start off with what happened in Group A on Match Day 3, where you have Benin Insurance. Of course, their winning streak is continuing. Right now, Insurance have won all 3 games this season. They defeated Kwara United by a lone goal. That's Group A. You have Nasarawa United and Akwa United. It was Akwa United who won by 3-0. The game between Plateau United and Aimba ended 2-1, and Economic Warriors and Gobe United settled for a goalless game. We'll move over to Group B. Rivers United and Niger Tornadoes, that game ended 2-1. Abia Warriors and Lobby Stars, Abia Warriors losing at home. Bayelsa United and Wiki Tourists, it was 2-1. And Rangers and Sunshine Stars, that also ended 1-1. And Domo United beating Dakada by a lone goal. And of course, for the game tomorrow, Remo Stars will be in action against a Shooting Stars. So you have like 2 teams that I know, Rivers, Benin Insurance unbeaten. Rivers after 2 wins and 1 draw. For Insurance, all wins in the 3 games. Yeah. Remo Stars also, they've won their first 2 games, but this might just be a tough one for them. going into match day 3.
Like a Southwestern derby, they are playing Shooting Stars, and when we talk historic, Shooting Stars is definitely one of those teams. But Remo Stars, I think they've got enough, to win this, to take all 3 points from this. So I'm rooting for Remo Stars. Today we saw Rivers United play Niger Tornadoes. I think with the results I've seen with Rivers United, I think they're telling themselves we don't want to do so plenty. 3 points is the key, and that is what they're doing. It's not like they are scoring at plenty or, the margins are so much. But 2-1, 1-0 is good enough. Bag these 3 points and let's move on. And I'm loving Bendel Insurance, Doma United. I think they're bringing in the competition. But like they always say, maybe the early days might shine so bright on you. But the later days where the mature team starts to, rake in those points, we might start to see. But for now, I think Bendel Insurance and Doma, I'm liking what you're doing, just getting promoted and, holding your own. Bendel Insurance has been massive. Away wins, I think that they are a team to talk about, at least for now.
Yeah, 2 away wins they've had this season. The opening game against Accra United,
of course. That was mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. Accra are not playing at home because of their stadium. I love what MPFL is doing this season. The stadiums are not okay. You can't play at home until you put your pitch in order, and that's really spectacular. Austin, match day 3, which result actually gets you talking? Outside Rivers United, who got 2-1 against Niger Tornadoes. Defending champ, they know that, of course, they need to, be at their best and start so well in the season.
Yeah, it has to be Bendel Insurance. What a story they're telling. They're telling a very beautiful, inspiring story for a team, with so much football tradition in Nigeria, just getting back into the league, and they are staying focused. And I always say something that for the efforts of the Edo State government, the only thing Delta, Edo Queens, and Bendel Insurance can do is to tell Philip Shaibu, well done for all the efforts and the push and the drive he's giving to the club. And I think they are doing that. Let me remind you, Kende Idris, any big boy that is not winning now is dangerous. It's an abridged league, brother. So if we are going to match the 3, for instance, Rangers still struggling to get 1 win. Don't forget that only 3 teams will get out of each group. So, for instance, you get into match day 6 and you're still struggling to gather 3 points, then you're living dangerously. So, a shout out to teams like, Bendel Insurance are just coming, and then they understand this. Doma, for instance, and it makes you want to appreciate the complete league. If it was a complete league where we have the home and away basis, then it means we would have probably seen some explosive football. But this is what we can get, and we're getting it, and we're talking about it. I'd like to see what Remo Stars can do in that derby against against Shooting Stars. Shooting Stars also another team that would like to make it out of their group. So that one is very, very tough. Today, for instance, Rivers United needed to show character, and they did just that to beat Niger Tornadoes 2-1. So good times in the MPFL. My result of the week, definitely Bendel Insurance winning, beating Kwara United by a single goal.
And also seeing the away wins and the complaints or talks are very reduced. I'm not saying in other climes,
we want VAR.
Yes, we want VAR, but the complaints are very minimal. Very minimal.
It's
compared to some other season. You would have heard a lot of stories. And referees are doing their job beautifully.
Just match day 3. They don't have a choice, right? We'll see if this IMC made the tenure extended. So we'll see at the end of the season, see if they can actually do something really good. We want VAR, we want better stadium. That will also help the league to grow. We live in MPFL and quickly touch down on EPL, of course. Not just EPL, but we'll touch down on the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. Southampton, of course, currently in action against Newcastle. Then Manchester United and Nottingham Forest will be in action on Wednesday night. But for Manchester United manager, talking about Henrik ten Hag, he says, well, it's all about winning trophies. And right now, United are hunting for 4. The Premier League title is still, yes, Arsenal, of course, 8-point clear. We understand, we know that. But then, United are in the hunt for 4 trophies. The Premier League is there, the Europa Cup is there, Europa League is also there, the FA Cup, and of course, the League Cup. And the League Cup, the first leg is against Nottingham Forest. That's where it's going to start from. Let's quickly take a listen to Erik ten Hag. What he's thinking about as they take the first step towards winning their first trophy since 2017 when Jose Mourinho won the Europa League and also the League Cup for the club.
It's about winning trophies. And So we have a good opportunity, but you have to go from game to game. So now we play Forest, 2 legs. So focus on the first leg and don't think further ahead because that will distract. And so the only aim for tomorrow is win that game. I had to look in my career to win some trophies, and it's magnificent, and especially for the fans. Is it so great? And I think the fans here, they have some experience, especially the older ones, but and now it's a period Manchester United didn't win trophies, and it's too long ago. So we are aware of that fact, and we have to do everything to bring a trophy in. And we set the right conclusions, and then we have to move forward and quickly, because tomorrow is a big game, so focus on that. No, all the players who are not available for Arsenal game, so Dalot, Martial, Sancho are also not available for tomorrow.
All right. In the hunt for contention for 4 trophies, the League Cup. Let's carry the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. Tomorrow, Nottingham Forest, Man United, first semi-finals before the second leg, February 1st at Old Trafford. But this one is key for Erik ten Hag. I mean, first step towards see if he can get a trophy this season.
Very key. Like I always, I think Pep Guardiola uses this cup to, teach some lessons to his players. Test what it feels like to win a trophy, and then you still have 3 more. There will be the league to be chased. There's the FA Cup, then there's the Champions League. So when you win the League Cup, you understand, okay, this is a trophy, League 2. And you enjoy it this much. So for Manchester United, I think gunning for this might just be good for them at the end of the season. When they taste this, they love the feeling, and they are still looking at there are bigger ones to be won. Yeah. And if you do so well, you can just clinch that. Why not, use this to set that pace? And of all the 4 teams left, I think they are the brightest. Yes, the Cups come with shockers, but I think Manchester United is still the brightest. There's Southampton, Newcastle, including Manchester United. So they sit at that top. Maybe Newcastle is the only team that we can't say can rub shoulder. But Manchester looks so bright to take this one at the end of the day.
Looking brighter. Austin, just a quick one on this one before we leave the show. United and Nottingham Forest on Wednesday, so you wrap the show for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, cup games are very tricky. And at the same time, I've listened to Erik ten Hag saying that this might also be their distraction. When you've got so much targets, sometimes you need to just do a scale of preference and say you will stay with this. Kind of Idris, we have to be careful. It's a cup game. Nottingham Forest might just come out and put everything that they have. Same thing Southampton is doing tonight with Newcastle. They are threatening, they are holding their own. It soon be halftime and it's goalless. So with cup games, I don't really, say much because anything can happen. But yes, on record, United looks good, but anything can happen. I think that's a good place to leave it. That's the show. In London, Austin, Okonapan, and everything you do, remember, keep talking sports. Bye for now.
Kende Idris, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's always lovely to be here.
Right, thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Mwangbe. Have a good night, right?